counting down. Okay, it is 11:18. The favorite cowbell. We are, as I said, 11:18 now, 11:19. So we're getting worse, but we are getting better in the fact that we spent some of this extra time getting this new camera set up. So that will hopefully, we have a very expensive camera that was not working well. So we bought a $100 camera. And it works plug and play and works perfect. So
funny how technology works.
It is very funny how technology works that way. And I'm always accused of being frugal, cheap in other words, but frugal. But sometimes frugal works out even better than buying the most expensive stuff they got out there. So it's been a very interesting week. It was primary season in Texas. And we can talk about that. It was primary season in North Carolina, and we have our guy from North Carolina here. So we'll get a little update on how that went up there. Not as what I think most of us wanted, but it is where it is, and I think it was probably a good learning experience for a lot of folks. Texas did vote down Sharia law 95% to 5%. I don't know who is in that 5%, but maybe that's your crossover Democrats voting in the Republican primaries. So that could be that.
It will be on the ballot in November.
Yes, this puts it on the ballot for the entire state in November. And I guess if they pass it on the ballot, what does that mean? That means they have to pass laws to get rid of it, or is this some constitutional amendment?
That's what I understood.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of what that guy's been talking about for the last
Steve Bannon has been in Texas for the past
34 days.
Yes, really hammering it home. I hope my ultimate goal will be War Room, South Carolina, with Steve Bannon here. For 2 months before a primary. Can you imagine? And kind of pushing that stuff out there. But he's seeing the focus of the grassroots, and he's been very supportive of the grassroots. I think last night's show, he was bringing the grassroots on. Somebody sent me a few minutes ago a short clip from his show about a grassroots person, I think in Illinois or Indiana, that was attacked or pushed out by the state, their state GOP. There was 2 ladies I think I saw the other day, maybe it was last night, that were in Indiana. And, we know our problems with Indiana with Pence, some of that stuff that is going on up there. They would not redistrict. So, that is the battlefield we're facing right now. There was also 2 ladies on there that were talking about it from a Texas perspective. Yes. We obviously have a ton of evidence of what happens here in South Carolina with our state party apparatus being used against the grassroots and not really growing the party. And I understand there may be frustrations. We all as Republicans may not agree on everything, especially we certainly don't agree with the Republicans that are in the middle, but they should be willing to sit down and talk and find ways where we can work together and do things. That's what frustrates me, because otherwise it ends up being destructive to the cause. So, but we try to do it here even locally. I reached out to, spoke with somebody yesterday to see if 2 individuals from another group here in Greenville would sit down and talk to us, because there's things that they're doing that we're doing in the opposite. We need to come to agreement of what we're doing. So, we're not messing those types of things up. So, and it's all, with all the issues, it's with the pro-life issues, it's with school choice, it's with candidates that we're getting behind and backing and all those types of things. And as I'll give you a short update, this part of the impetus of this was there was a court case hearing yesterday for a lady. She's an attorney. She was representing her husband as the plaintiff. Her last name's Passive. She's very involved. You see her speak down at the Greenville County Council, but they sued Greenville County Council over the expansion of the sewer district issue. And I think it was originally sued back in January of 2025. Now because of, this is maybe her 5th or 6th case. She's lost the cases, is frustrated the county, or at least the county attorney, to the extent that they're going after what's called a Rule 11 frivolous lawsuit matter and asking for $106,000 of legal fees from her. So, I mean, it's, you know, and then it gets a little difficult in that regards. I don't know. You know, it'll be a very interesting when the court rules on that. How much? I don't know if it'll be the whole 106. I think it'll probably be something, and it'll be like, well, what happens next? You know, so and
Shows up and files another lawsuit.
maybe, yeah, you know, and we sat there. There was, I think, 2 or 3, 4 other people that were there, and you know, it was interesting. I printed out a lot of the legal documents and read them myself. I will tell you, you know, not to demean what this person was doing in her advocacy, because I mean, we want to all support that, and I really wish the county would sit down with her or her and a group of us and actually hash and talk some of this stuff out, as opposed to filing 120-page legal briefs and all that kind of stuff that actually cost a lot of money when you go get an outside law firm to handle it. And that's part of that discussion. I would hope that county council and the county attorneys and all those folks would sit down with us and kind of try to figure that out. Because I think what this lady's trying to do is help fight, you know, on the legal side to stop the overdevelopment, you know, which we all seem to agree with. And our county council members are supposed to be in agreement with that as well. You know, we think, you know, so where there's a will, there's a way, and we need to find a way to do it. You know, and I think this lady was trying to do it there. And even though she's lost some of those cases, you know, the fact that they're now going to go after her for $106,000, just like in my advocacy cases, you know, I've gone after folks that are on the negative side of school choice, or out there spreading rumors or bad stuff like that. And, you know, they're trying to, you know, for $40,000, they're trying to put me in 90 days in jail. So but why I got particularly interested in this case, just to follow through with that, was there are people that are wanting to protect her from the government coming after her for the fees. You know, and this is $106,000 of Greenville taxpayer money. So, I mean, you can argue, you can make a very valid argument. Well, you know, who's paying for that? We're all going to have to pay for that. So, you know, we ought to figure out a way to kind of reconcile that, where the county's not having to come up with taxpayer dollars to pay outside attorneys to fight advocates and that type of stuff. In my case, it's actually legal fees that were paid by an insurance company that have already been paid. So this is really just to reimburse an insurance company. But, you know, the judge has gone over the top and even held me in contempt. That's, you know, on appeal to be reversed, and then threatening, if I don't pay it, to put me in up to 90 days of jail, you know, and probably even more after that if I don't pay. Now my hypocrisy, you know, radar goes up when people that are advocating to protect this woman are the same people out there celebrating and going after me, saying he needs to be put in jail. So that's where, you know, we kind of got into it, and I was wanting to get very, you know, a little more involved and kind of follow through with this. And the interesting note, everybody knows James Spurk and his Times Examiner, and yeah, I see some head shaking. But I don't know if that was a head shaking. No, okay. But he took over the Times Examiner after Joe Dill's brother passed away, Colonel Dill. Fantastic gentleman, Colonel Dill. Newspaper, what he did with the Times Examiner for 30 some odd years or whatever it was fantastic. James Spurk has turned it into a complete rag, if you ask me, you know, pushing, in this case, Mark Lynch's agenda, because if you look at the header of their website, it's, you know,
Mark Lynch Appliance.
Jeff Lynch Appliance, and he's actually doing it. He's actually doing it with a second kind of blog that's out there out of Horry County, which, you know, also will put out hit pieces on me, which I kind of find kind of funny, because, you know, I'm like, why is Jeff Lynch Appliance advertising in Horry County, Myrtle Beach? You know, I mean, obviously they're being paid to write hit pieces on me, but that's okay. We can live with that. We can deal with that. But Olga and I were at the courthouse yesterday, and we were just happened to be around the corner where you walk into the actual courtroom, and the Times Examiner reporter, James Spurk's guy, and I can't remember what his name is, you know, he comes up, starts talking to somebody around the corner from us, and then starts talking about Jeff Davis's frivolous lawsuits. And I'm like, you're here for this lady. This lady is literally up on what the court is calling, and the other opposing parties are calling a frivolous lawsuit. None of my lawsuits have ever been considered frivolous, or certainly not been ruled frivolous or anything like this. And he walks in and starts talking about it.
Too bad he didn't know. I overheard that comment just around the corner. So.
And so she perked up and ran around, and then I went around and said something to him. But I mean, but that's, you know, and I look back at it. You know, this guy is from the old guard Rhino establishment, right? And, you know, that's the type of rumor and slander and whether it's legal defamation or whatever. But it's like, you know, and Olga even made the point to him, is like, you wrote an article. Every time an order comes out of my case in Newberry, it's like the same day they have an article that comes out, right? And even in the last one they did, they made a quote from the order that said, you know, that was not even accurate, saying that I was going to all these political events and all this kind of stuff. It's not even in the order. It's not even been discussed in the court case. I mean, none of that stuff is out there. And they were writing it in the article, quoting this stuff. So even that kind of journalism is that bad. You
Can
can't.
I ask a stupid question?
Sure. Yeah, go.
As the chair of a county party, wouldn't it be expected that you would attend political events?
Well, yes,
I mean, you know,
but because of my health issues, because, you know, that's, you know, yeah.
I'm just, you know me, I'm just common sense at the table.
Yes, but I mean, but I've been, you know, because of the health issue. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff I've missed. You know, either Olga and Terry will go to my place, or other people, you know, those types of. So there's been an absolute lot that I've missed because of it. But, you know, he was just adding that into, you know, and it's not even in the court case. But what was fun, but what I asked him, and y'all will all appreciate this, and this is actually, you know, good news. I said, well, you know, the court issued an order last Wednesday, granting my writ of supersedis, which is to put all the enforcement of any contempt or the 90 days in jail on hold. I said, why didn't y'all write an article about that? Every time there's something that comes out,
Right.
obviously, you know, and they try to spin it in a particular way. I'm like, why didn't you write about this? I mean, this is like, you know, it's fantastic. You know, in theory, fantastic. I won the writ of supersedius, more Latin. You know, and it's kind of like, oh, you didn't want to write anything about that, did you? So they only want to write the hit pieces. Right. They don't want to write when you win a case or you win a hearing or win a motion or something like that. You know, and it's just like, you know, he's like, oh, why don't you can call James and see if he might want to write about it. I'm like, you know,
I said, no, we don't provide fake news.
So I even hate mentioning the name of their blog post or whatever. But, you know, I mean, it's incredible. But good news is, you know, because now I have heard that rumor that, you know, that some of the folks that are out there saying that, well, who's going to run the party when Jeff Davis gets thrown in jail? Our first vice chair. That's why, and the claim was we were not supposed to elect Emerson, who's 19, to be the first vice chair. That he would have to run the party and automatically be elevated to chair. He's now thinking, he's like, well, maybe this will be good. Come on in, grab a seat if you like, and, you know, sit over here, wherever. You know, I don't know if we got chairs. But Emerson is here. Congratulations to Emerson. Okay. We'll finish that. But congratulations to Emerson. We elected him Monday a week ago to be our first vice chair. He is 19 years old. So we can't, as first vice chair, I can't delegate to go buy beer to him. Maybe pay for it, and we'll go buy it. I don't know. But Emerson's at Clemson. He's been coming here for a couple of years with coffee and politics. Right. He can drive us old folks. He knows a guy. Olga, you said there was a question?
Yes, you can read it on the screen since I don't know.
Okay. I don't.
From Michael Shirley.
Michael Shirley, I heard that you say they want to jail you over a debt, right? Family court does this all the time. So it was just another matter of time before other debts became jail worthy to the corrupt. So am I the corrupt or?
No,
to the court.
Courts are corrupt.
Oh, to the corrupt court. Okay. Well, we wasn't saying I was corrupt. Michael, yes, they do this a lot in family court. They will hold it over people's heads. The difference is, it has to do with child support and all that type of stuff. It happens all the time in the family courts. It does not happen in civil court. And and in my case, and I even told a couple people before it happened, I'm like, they're probably gonna, I told Olga as we drove down to the hearing down in Newberry, I said, you got to be prepared, drive back by yourself, and I said, and I talked to lawyers about it. They're like, yeah, there's no way that's not going to happen. That's impossible. I talked to a former judge about that. It's not going to happen. It's never happened before. Never seen something like that. And we sat there, gave all the testimony and all the stuff, all the reasonings for things. The other side did not even contest it in any strong format. But the judge then ruled in their favor in that sense. So holding me in contempt, number one, and then saying I got to pay those fees, and then saying I got 10 days to pay it, else I'll be arrested and put in jail. And I'm like, that's what I told everybody. At least you didn't have to drive back at 10 days, but by yourself. And in that 10 days, I filed the appeal, and then I filed what's called a writ of supersedious, which, I filed it with the Court of Appeals to kind of put everything on hold. You're supposed to file it with the trial court. So what the Court of Appeals did, they granted it, and immediately, like literally the next day, because it was an emergency thing. And I didn't think the trial court judge would grant it. I mean, he's the one who put the order. Why would he then grant to put it on hold? But what he ended up doing is, the Court of Appeals pushed it back down to the trial court. We've had literally, I think it's been 12 plus 3 months. We've been going through this for 15 months with the trial court. And finally, last Wednesday they ordered it. And this again is the judge that said that he did not, at that initial hearing, I said I'm dealing with cancer and all this kind of stuff. He's like, Mr. Davis, I find it hard to believe, you have cancer, if you didn't bring like stacks and stacks of paperwork. And I'm like, I gave you a sworn affidavit. You swore me in here at the court. I gave sworn testimony to the effect of all the things that I was going through. And even after he said that, I went home. I did talk to a lawyer friend that gave me a piece, not advice, but, said, hey, this may be something you want to do real quick. I sent in like 500 pages or several hundred pages worth of documentation to the court afterwards, after that hearing, the same day. Before he had actually written the order. Orders are not official until they're written and filed with the court. So, I had some time. So I sent it down to the judge, including, a whole list of the 500,000 plus of medical expenses, including the designation of my stage 4 colon cancer. So, I mean, it had the technical stuff in there, and he still didn't change his order. And then he still claimed that, I didn't have cancer. So, I mean, we've been through this for 13, 15 months, and it's been crazy. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, you're supposed to bring the jar full of verified tumors too.
I'm like, did you want to see my scars? We didn't get in this comparison thing. It was crazy. It really made no sense. And at one point he wanted letters from my doctors, and at that time I had 2 surgeons, and I sent one from a nurse and from my oncologist, just 1 page or 2-page letters, from them explaining the situation. I provided that, and this what he most recently made me do in January.
Well, say the prognosis, Jeff was on chemo for so many numbers of months. So at that point, the doctors issued a note by November he would be back to normal. Well, the cancer came back, so he restarted chemo with a whole new timeline.
Right.
The judge could not believe why he was not done back healthy in November.
Like I was taking chemo to avoid going to court and delaying this case.
So did this judge go to med school before he went to law school?
Yes.
I provided all the evidence you could find.
And it's not even about Jeff, about us. We just go through the steps and do what's right, what they ask for. But it's embarrassment to the state, to the judicial system. It's the judge.
I can fight back, okay? It's wrong. What I look at is, it's in our school choice fight, I think, what about the single mom, What is that? How do we're advocating for the single mom. We're that's got a couple kids that need certainly with special needs. That's what we're advocating. That's the position I put myself in. Same thing with this legal stuff. Pick a random person that hadn't been to law school. They wouldn't know what to do. They would literally probably be sitting in jail right now.
Did you appeal to a different court, a higher court?
It is in his ruling has been appealed to the Court of Appeals. So I'm going through that process. What I could do if I thought I was being prejudiced against by this particular judge is to ask them to recuse themselves. That gets a little dicey. I'd rather just appeal their orders and get them reversed and do, if that's what's necessary.
One piece of information in mind about this particular judge is he retired, but kept his case. He's retired.
Yeah. So, because you have to automatically retire at age 70. Well, what happens? You have to automatically retire at 70. But what you can do is you can stay on retired judge status in case they need extra judges doing stuff. So the Chief Justice will assign stuff to him or her. And for whatever reason, he kept all the cases involving me. This is the same judge that was given all the cases related to Nancy Mace. Because Nancy Mace has some civil cases, some criminal cases against the other parties, not against her. So this judge was representing her in that matter, and she kind of took him to the woodshed. You've seen some of the news over the past, couple months, but and people have been like, "Oh, that's the exact same judge." Oh, now I kind of get it. It's not just Jeff making this up. There's other people, but and Nancy's kind of out there too. But think about. And Nancy looks at herself as an advocate for what she's trying to protect, victims in that sense. And that's what her fight is. My fight's on school choice. And I'm like, we've gotten Chad Conley and those guys let go from Exceptional C. The board chairman had to resign, all those types of things because they were taking more money than they were entitled to. They were taking money and putting it in their pocket when it was supposed to be going to children. It's all mathematical. It's there.
Never happens.
No, yeah. So a huge victory in that respect, for the kids. But obviously, the other side's pretty mad at us about that. No, Judge Hocker, Hocker, Judge Hocker, out of Newberry. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We all talk about it. I've had big lawyers tell me this happened. It's not uncommon for a legislator to call a judge and tell them how they want a case to turn out. Those are the people that are electing those judges.
That's who's appointing the judges.
Right. So they're going to take those calls and they're going to listen to them. I actually had a legislator at that time, House rep, tell me that this judge, when I first got involved, filed the lawsuits against Jack Conley in this particular case in Newberry, and that's where he lives. This House rep told me, we're family friends with that judge. You want me to call him? And I'm like, whoa, no, you can't do that. Dumb on me, apparently, because apparently all the other people say, sure, and I call them up, tell them how you want it to turn out. That's not, that's what we're fighting. That's why we should be either electing the judges and or have the governor appoint and confirmed by the Senate, or anything is better than our system. All your legislators electing the judges that they appear in front of.
Only a few states.
It's us and Virginia. That's the only two states that do it. So, and we know all the problems. And as our Virginia friend is shaking his head, yes, there's a ton of problems in Virginia about that. So, but good news for me, or bad news for him, he's not getting moved up the chair. But in our rules, even if I passed away tomorrow, you elect a new chair. The first vice chair does.
It's under precedent. Even if you weren't jail, you'd still be the chair. So.
Well, that was the other half of the joke that y'all appreciate is like, oh well, what's Jeff? How's Jeff going to run the party if he's in jail? It's like, hey, Al Capone did it. I can do it. I can run the party. So it's kind of silly, but but that was one of the things that the people that argued about how much we're spending on coffee in the budget discussion. That's who was bringing it up. Yeah, and the landscaping and all that stuff. They were saying we shouldn't elect a 19-year-old.
Just read Michael attorney's comment, and we
yes.
can give people a little bit of background.
Okay, I have to go in a minute, but we are looking for allies against family court. I can stop you there. We're definitely allies because I do know there's a big, huge problem there. Quite frankly, the destruction of the nuclear family is a major part of what's wrong in this country. Agreed. Would you like more of our story and advocacy efforts? Absolutely. I think we're already in it, but we're happy to help promote it and get it out there. We are building an army of parents that have had it with these judges. Jay Jordan became a strong enemy to a lot of the people over House Bill 4622 and the obvious sidelining of it. I don't know 4622. We can look at it, but
I know
yeah.
Michael's story. Maybe we'll get him on at some point.
Yeah, we'd love for you to come on and tell your story. We're happy to do that.
2 older boys and 1 little boy, and I think he's been battling with his ex-wife over custody of the baby, and the
Oh,
situation
that's
is
ugly.
not good. But because he's the father, I guess the courts are pretty prejudiced against fathers generally in our state. I think.
Depends on the judge.
Yes.
So anyway, that's I followed their story.
Because I've got another friend in North Carolina that's going through the same thing.
Really? I mean, we've been supportive of, there's been bills out there just to treat fathers and mothers the same.
His last comment says, current lawmakers, including the Freedom Caucus, don't want to talk about it.
Well,
There's several, we'd love to chat with you. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Everybody knows there's a problem with the family courts. You hear stories. I mean, we know a friend that's going through it right now, and there's somebody in the court or somebody has ordered like a psych evaluation. Well, the mother is on I guess doesn't have the funding to be able to pay for it, so she'll get government benefits to get her psych evaluation done. Mm-hmm. Well, the father has a job and makes money. Well, who's going to pay for the $3,000 for him? I mean, he has to then go pay for it. The mother's of course going to keep asking, and the mother has a drug problem and all this kind of stuff. The father doesn't. I mean, it's just. But what do you do? Oh, you're going to lose your kid if you don't go get a $3,000 psych evaluation.
He has the current custody, and now the mom is asking for psych evaluation because she failed drug test. So now
both parents got to have the psych evaluation. I'm like, well, he didn't fail a drug test and he's got custody of the kids. Why does he have to go? I mean, for a lot of people, $3,000 is a lot of money. I mean, it's, especially when you don't have it, you're not budgeted for it, and it just pops up, and it's like, why am I getting punished? Because
The 4622 was the Equal Parenting Act.
Yes, yeah. Which is what,
Second judiciary.
Yeah. 4622.
It was filed in 2546.
Yeah. And we have a good friend that was fighting for that years ago, and he just got so frustrated with it, he left the state. I mean, he moved back to out west because he was so disgusted with the whole process with the family court system and the prejudice that is against the parents, or against the fathers in a lot of these cases, and all that is asking for is just treat them equally.
Yes, in a lot of cases it's a parent because it is the parent who is not connected, and it doesn't matter whether it's a father or a mother.
Could be.
I'm watching it happen right now.
Yeah,
I mean it's.
But there's all kinds of issues with guardian ad litem's and people getting fees. How do you, the guardian ad litem's charge their fees, and then the parents have to pay for all the. I mean, it's like one of those things. You kind of, you get in this debt spiral or cost spiral, and it's like all of a sudden there's nothing you can do. You can't even fight it in the courts because you feel like you're being prejudiced against there.
He paid $8,000.
$8,000. I mean,
that's where I'm right now with our grandchildren. We're about $8 grand.
Yeah, and grandparents are having to deal with this stuff too. So the nuclear family is important, and we all know the issues and problems of the collapse of the nuclear family. And you got parents, I get it. There's some parents that are just fighting to the other parent, over the kids, and that's not good either. But when you got a father or grandparents that that want to take care of these kids, and I think it even gets into the foster care system and it gets into the adoption system. We know Olga was telling me an example. I mean, we have some personal friends that were adopting a child, and it took a long time to do,
And a lot of money.
And then there was, Olga was telling us about another friend example of somebody out, maybe it's out west. I don't know where they were. Was it Texas? Oh, it was somebody that was adopting a child in Texas. They adopted the first one. It was several months maybe. And then they said, okay, now we're ready for a second one. And they got the second one in 8 days. I'm like, that to me is a bit unheard of. Maybe they got a better system in Texas. I don't know. Maybe they got more kids, in Texas. I don't know.
Once they figured they'd gone through the whole program.
Maybe.
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 Maybe
Yeah.
it had something to do with the type that they were doing open adoptions, like the parents, biological parents are involved. They're picking the adopted parents. But I know it cost them $50,000 for each child.
Oh, it did?
The fees.
Wow. That's
Maybe that
And that's cheap
something-
compared to some states.
Do you know, was it foreign or domestic adoption?
Domestic.
domestic.
That's interesting.
I know the foreign ones are expensive. I didn't know a domestic one would be $50,000.
$400 in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
We adopted 2 children, Russian named Nikolai Katerina, Nicholas and Katerina, from Arkadia, which is 3 hours southeast of Krasnodar. It's between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Maybe it's near the Caucasus. But that, for us, it was 2001, right after 9/11, and it cost $32,000. But once it was settled, then then we did what people they mistakenly call it a readoption. But what that is, it's a certificate of, or this determination of judicial comity, where basically you get to reapprove here. So
The U.S.
if
courts.
we get hit by lightning, then they have a paper trail here, so the kids don't get sent
Right.
back.
We also had to do so, like every year,
So
we had a social services inspect.
Yeah. Right.
3 or 4 years all of it, and those reports to Russia.
Oh, really?
friends.
Really?
Yeah, we did have some friends when we lived in Boise, Idaho, and they had 2 adopted, and then they wanted to adopt 2 more from Russia. But in the meantime, some Americans had abused or killed their adopted Russian kids. And so that was sensationalized by tabloids in Russia. So Putin shut everything down. And these are good people, so their kids number 3 and 4, they were right in the middle of stuff, and we couldn't adopt them.
Yeah.
It was stopped.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that need to get fixed. And what's frustrating me, and I made a comment to somebody the other day, is just, it's the legislature holding up a lot of things. And I think it's because, different advocacy groups, or people, making money off of something, stop it.
They keep complaining that there's so many kids in the welfare, in the social services system, in foster care, and they can't find enough parents that, you got plenty of parents who would adopt, but they just don't want to go through all the hoops and stuff you got to jump through, plus the money to pay. Why would I do that when I can foster them and the state will pay me money? It's take that incentive away and say, okay, we need to start adopting kids.
And I'm willing to listen to their arguments. Like if there's a good, valid reason for some stuff, like, they're arguing this lady needs to pay the $106,000 legal fees. Maybe they got a good argument for it. Let's hear it. Maybe we should have adjusted and fixed some things. I mean, I get it. You got to hear all sides. That's what I've always heard about Trump. He lets both sides sit in front of him, lets them make the arguments, and then he chooses, what's reasonable there. So, I mean, I'm not siding one way or the other on a lot of this stuff, but obviously there's a problem and it needs to get fixed. I will let everybody know next week on Wednesday at 10. We've got Kurt McGahee's going to come in. We've been trying to schedule this. We're going to talk a couple things about Greenville County. So we'll kind of keep it a Greenville County focused, but we're going to do kind of a coffee and politics where we can kind of talk to him about stuff going on at county council. Anybody's welcome to attend that. So that's next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So, but definitely be on time as we will start, because I don't know what his schedule is.
Is that the 11th? The 11th?
Yes. So he was gracious enough to do that. I'm giving him the list of the couple items that we want to talk about. So we're not into this gotcha, journal gotcha, whatever.
It gives him the opportunity
Yes.
to have the
Yes,
documentation.
and I want him to, because I mean there's some people that have expressed some questions. I would like to thank Fred. Fred, thank you very much. He's donated a couple copies of this book that we've got put over there. How old are you, Fred? 88.
Wow.
So anything health related that Fred says, we follow.
What's the name?
Fred can definitely qualify to buy the beer. So I'm going to read that, but there's a couple copies of that. He paid $10 a piece for them. So he was asking if people would donate $10 for that. So we got him up there with the hats and stuff like that. But I wanted to thank you for that. Appreciate it. And we are doing tomorrow the Build Your Precinct training. We had it for last week, kind of people with the bombing and all that kind of stuff. We postponed it to this week, so that'll be tomorrow, 10 to noon. I will tell you, this is not just a training and it's great and I go home. This is a homework training.
Oh.
There's things to do, and we're going to keep this kind of going and building our precincts, building up to June primaries and getting our voter turnout increased, and then continuing on to make sure we get people out in November, but that's a little simpler, and then get people out for reorg of 2027, and just really let's build the party, let's get more people involved, and let's do some things so we can get more people involved in committees or whatever they want to. We had a couple that was in here yesterday. They asked what we do, and told them all the different things we do. But I'm like, if you don't want to do anything, you got to come out to precinct reorg every other year. You got to, and we've already scheduled ours here in Greenville. Our precinct reorg is going to be on March 1st of 2027. That is a Monday, and I don't know if we've set the time at either 6 or 7, probably 7. But all of our precincts will reorganize on March 1st of 2027, and then we will have the makeup on that Saturday, the 6th, I guess, or the 7th. 6th at 10 o'clock, and we'll have we have to by rule have it in one central location, and then we'll do our convention wherever in April. But we want to let people know. This guy was putting in his calendar, but I was like, come out to precinct reorg, vote for your MAGA America First slate, be a part of it if you want to. We want participation. Come out to the county convention and vote for your MAGA America First slate, and then vote in the June primaries for the most conservative Republican, and then come out and vote for the Republican in November. That makes you a patriot in my book. That's really all we really ask in building our precinct, because we're at 15% turnout. We got to get more people.
Which is kind of a national average.
It is a national average.
We had this Tuesday was not a proud moment for the state of North Carolina.
What were y'all? What was yours?
It was almost 17% on the Democrat side and 14% on the
Wow.
Yeah. But
the other thing we had unusual. Now we actually do something in North Carolina that I wish this state would have done when I started meeting on 40 years ago about it, and as we register by party. But the problem is we still have it where if you're unaffiliated, you can choose whichever ballot you want on election day.
So what's the point? That's open primary to me.
Well, at least you exclude the actual registered Democrats.
Yeah.
Don't worry, this is a state executive committee problem we're working on right now.
Good.
But
we are too.
we actually had more unaffiliated pull Democrat ballots than Republican ballots on Tuesday.
Really? Why? Why do y'all think?
Best we can figure, the Democrats decided to do something that we figured out was really stupid on the Republican side 10 years ago. And that is they basically had primary just about every district in the state. Because they think it increases turnout. Yeah. And what we found out when we did it on the Republican side is, no, it makes us throw money down rabbit holes where there ain't nothing at the bottom of the hole. But we're working on, we'll have a proposition at the next state executive committee meeting or a resolution to fully close our state primaries. Where if you're not a registered, my attitude is this: if you are not a member of my team, you should have if you're not willing to confess as a member of my team,
can
you should have no say in who my starting lineup is.
Right.
It seems pretty easy to me.
I know. I mean, and there's legal issues of freedom of association, and you ought to be able to associate with other Republicans without letting in independents. You ought to be able to, step forward and say you're a Republican if you want to associate with other Republicans.
Doesn't
So,
cost a penny. All you got to do is pick up. You actually go online and
Yeah.
fill out the form at the State Board of Elections in 10 days.
yeah. So I mean, it's frustrating. It's something we're fighting here now. Drew McKissick, as you all know, instead of putting forth a clean closed primary bill, what he did is, or closed registration by party or closed primary, he put forth that with a candidate qualification in there, which is the only reason they put it out there. Yes, it was more about the qualification of the candidate, and we all call it the anti-David Pasco bill, but it would have kept out a whole bunch of other people. And as we just did, when we elected him, one of the things that we did at our special meeting last Monday was we actually killed the 2 of 3 primary requirement for precinct ECs. This is where it actually started. It started as a nefarious requirement to keep the Tea Party people out of being ECs here in Greenville County in your precinct. And then once we all got elected in 21, Drew McKissick moved it up to the state party level to keep leadership of a county out unless you had voted in 2 of 3, or state delegates to come vote him out. You had to be 2 of 3. So it put us in a quandary of trying to find and prove everybody had 2 of 3 for the delegates we sent down to the state convention, because any delegate that was voting for Drew obviously wasn't checked to see if they qualify, right? So we had to make sure our people qualify. We had to get people send their voting records from other states, all that kind of stuff. And we've actually had people that have voted and it doesn't show up on their voting record that they voted in a primary. We have a very reasonable kind of, I hate to say middle of the road, but he's very here in town that has a picture of when they went and voted in a primary. And when he pulled his voter record, so he kind of thinks, those of us that kind of say these things are a little bit out there. He's like, oh my God, it happened to me, because he's like, I pulled my voter record and it didn't show me voting in this particular primary. And he's like, I pulled up my phone and just went back to that date. And it's like, here's a picture of me. I didn't just go someplace and pick up a sticker and not vote. It says I voted. He went and voted, and it didn't show that he had voted in that primary. He's like, yeah, there is a problem. So, I mean, it's an issue. It is a serious issue. So, but
the senator candidate eliminated all election integrity problems. Sorry,
we can. Yes, he's a little bitter about the North Carolina results for Senate. Guy was not bitter, but disappointed.
Just learned an awful lot about as many campaigns as I've worked on.
Get him the mic up there.
I've worked on at least one statewide campaign in the last 8 election cycles. This is the first time I've been directly in one for a national position, where the one thing the RNC, the NRSC, the NRCC, and the National Governors Association did not want to have happen is a true America First candidate win the Republican primary. And it goes to the point where one of the things I was doing early in the campaign was talking to conservative fundraiser organizations across the country. I spoke with 6, and amazingly enough, every one of them had a great conversation, got them all the information about Don. And every one of them, 7 to 10 days later, I get a phone call or an email explaining to me, well, we've realized that we may have a conflict being involved with Mr. Brown's campaign. So the last one was a very nice young man. He now lives in Charlotte, who grew up here in Greenville, and whose mom was a high school teacher in Greenville. And the only professor his mom ever talked to him about was my dad, who was her secretary ed, her advisor at Furman. He called me about a week after, and I'm not going to get into names or anything, but he called me about a week after he had to send me the sorry, we have conflict note. And he had gone to his boss. And he said, I keep looking at more and more stuff about Don Brown, and he's like, if we were to sit down on a blank piece of paper and write who should be our next U.S. Senator, this would have been what we came up with. And his boss told him, he says, well, but there's a problem. And he said, what do you mean there's a problem? He says, we were instructed by the RNC, the NRSC, which is the National Republican Senatorial Committee, run by Cuck Tim Scott, who has become one of the most disgusting individuals in the U.S. Senate.
Yep.
The NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee, and the Republican Governors Association, that if they intended to have any referrals from any of these organizations, they would not get involved in Don Brown's campaign. This fix was put in place when Michael Watley was still RNC chair, and I'll say this out in public because I've got a letter that says so that was sent, amazingly enough, from the leadership of my state party to Michael Watley when he was RNC chair, addressed to RNC Chairman Michael Watley, that they were going to sign off on Rule 11, which is a whole nother thing, that they would allow for the RNC and NRSC to financially help the campaign of Michael Watley for senator before the primary, which is indirect violation of our state plan of organization. I'll just tell y'all now, this ain't over.
This is what he's talking about is standard operating procedure. I mean, when we the Greenville party in, I think it was January, February of 22, we conducted a candidate training class, and we reached out to some campaign consultants to come teach the class. They do that type of stuff, and none of them here in South Carolina would do it. And we had it, and the person we ended up getting was a referral, strangely enough, to the Republican Women's Clubs or the National Republican Women's Club, because this person had gone and spoken for their national convention, I think down in Louisiana or Florida, somewhere like that. So she was referred to us. We called her. She was out of Massachusetts, in Boston, came down, gave the class, and as she's presenting the class, she goes, oh, yeah, I was called by the South Carolina SCGOP and told not to come present this class to you guys. And she's like, and I just told them where to take it, and it's just kind of like, why are we doing this? I mean, what was the problem with us? We're MAGA, America First, Trump supporting people. They did not want us knowing how to operate a party, how to get candidates elected. In this case, how to fundraise. Paxton in Texas was $5 million versus 100 something.
Can you speak about what happened there?
Sure.
Because there's word that Trump does not support Paxton, and that Paxton gave Trump or the party a kind of like an ultimatum that he would step down if the discussion,
as I understand it, and anybody that knows more can correct me, is that in Texas, it's not like they have a runoff in 2 weeks.
No, but there will be a runoff.
Well, in South Carolina, we have a runoff in 2 weeks. So it's really you just kind of keep things going for 2 weeks, and it's a crazy 2 weeks, and it's over. Theirs is
May.
Yeah, it's like 3 months or 2 months or whatever it is. And it's like a long time period. They will literally are expected to spend another 100 million plus. It'll be like, the people don't even want that, because I've told people are sick of even watching TV because it's just ad after ad after ad after ad.
That Bannon guy was talking about it, about you'd put those.
Oh, use the mic. Mike's. Mike. Okay, so their concern is they're going to spend $100 million. That'll take money away from fighting the Democrat in the general election, and let's not do that.
It'll take money out of Senate,
out of everything, other campaigns. Yes, because if I'm a big money donor, I I might want Cornyn or whatever. So I'm going to give him $10 million to help his campaign. But that's going to keep me from giving $10 million for other people. So
Paxton had 5 million, and the other one had what, 100?
hundreds. I've heard 70 to 100 to
70 to
120.
100.
The interesting thing for me is that supposedly Trump
Grab the mic.
supports
Just
Cornyn, and Trump supports Lindsey Graham, and so we may be in the exact same position where we don't have a choice. The people don't get the choice, but rather whoever the rhino establishment wants will the other two will drop out. I don't know,
well, this.
but I found it interesting.
That's the difference between the Republican Senate committee and the Republican Congressional Committee.
What's that?
The Congressional
Hold on.
Committee is a lot more grassroots.
Yeah.
Because they've got to cover 435 districts.
Right.
But when you look at the Senatorial Committee, once it gets to that club of 100, I mean,
And it's 6-year terms as opposed to 2-year.
Yeah.
If they know they've got somebody in there and they know they only have to run a race every 6 years and it's big money races, they want to protect their own. So that's what goes on the Senate side. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what has happened? Well, yes, it is. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. It is wrong. Yes, you're. I mean, sorry. I mean, but without talking a lot of what I think is going on in Texas, though, Trump to save that money was like, hey, I will pick one, I'll endorse them, and expect the other to drop out. Then the discussion became, oh, well, the one he's going to pick is Cornyn.
And
Cornyn.
he's not liked by the people.
Right.
Either.
He only got they spent $100 million. He's the sitting
1%?
senator.
Or
He got 42%. While Paxton got 41, and the other person who
1%
Wesley Hunt got 16 or whatever, and would
Yeah.
probably all his voters would go to Paxton.
Exactly.
So I kind of wish Wesley Hunt wasn't in it, and we just knocked this thing out head to head, mano a mano, and be done with it. But it hasn't happened yet. Now, what happened yesterday in a very selfless move, Paxton said, "I will step aside if you will pass. Get rid of the filibuster. Number one, you can do the standing filibuster, the talking filibuster, but get rid of this 60 vote threshold and pass, not just bring it to the floor, pass the Save America Act."
Yes.
Man, he put them in their place. And this is the type of stuff that is going on up there that
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a setup from the beginning. Doubt it. Who knows? But let them go ahead and have that little fight. There's a lot of things that Trump could do. I don't think Trump dislikes Paxton. I can't
No,
imagine.
they're actually,
Yeah.
matter of fact, Paxton was one of the loudest defenders
Yeah.
post 2020 election.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we we get offended by it sometimes because you see Trump goes the other way. I mean, we're the grassroots and we're fighting like crazy down here in South Carolina, and then he goes and endorses Lindsey Graham, or he does this stuff with Cornyn, or what you don't really know. It's very offensive in many ways, but it feels like it in many ways, and but who really knows what's going on?
And
So
I think the big fear now is if they don't come with these answers to Paxton,
That's right.
Paxton will beat Cornyn in the primary, even if Trump endorses him.
it's possible. Yes.
That is the big fear of the.
Yeah.
I mean,
of the neocons,
Yep.
the rhinos.
I think Paxton would, even if Trump endorses Cornyn, I don't think it matters. I've said the same thing with Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham early on. I'm like, it doesn't really matter if we've got the right candidate, the right candidate with a little bit of money. You got to have something.
You gotta remember, Trump endorses these people because they're useful idiots too. That's
Some of
well, in a lot of cases, he endorses because the people in his circle advise him to.
Or his donors advise him to.
I don't think Trump really cares much about what donors have to say.
Maybe not anymore. I don't know.
Lindsey Graham and everybody booed, and
Yeah,
that didn't affect
exactly.
Trump at all.
No.
And Trump was there.
No, no.
And Trump was there, but also they booed him at when Trump won in the February primary. You say it doesn't matter, and I hear you. It feels like it didn't, but you know what? I bet you anything Trump used it against Lindsey to get something. He's like, Lindsey, you better do what I'm asking you to do, because I was at the Pickens thing. You know, I mean, I'm sure Trump's saying that. I'm like, I heard a booyah. It ain't going to take much to push the South Carolinians over the line. You know, so better do what I need to do. That's why I think Trump has Lindsey Graham kind of in a box. Because he is.
Well, I think. Oh, I agree.
I'm dead on. Which Terry? My favorite Terry or the other Terry?
That should be the single biggest point in the United States is the repeal of the 17th Amendment.
All right.
Terry just texting, commenting, saying Jeff is dead on.
Do we have that other mic? If we can maybe pass it.
It's okay. I got a big mouth.
But make sure the mic can hear you. You got to scream it. I don't know if that'll get all the way over there.
I think it will.
Well, it's,
Okay, good. Perfect.
oh, thank
That's
you.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's always strategic positioning. Like in '79, when Iran was having the young people, the woke young people, rise up and try to, and they did, displace the Shah, Reza Pahlavi. What that did was that created a vacuum. And it is true, he had his secret society or secret group, the SAVAK was the secret police of Iran, that went after people. However, if you look in balance, that destabilized the entire Middle East when he was moved out, along with Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, the same thing. I was born in Taipei. My dad was, we're not sure exactly, but an interesting life. And so, and so anyway, Chiang Kai-shek was
He's got all the accents. I wonder where you get that. He's good at it.
C'est comme ça que j'étudie le français depuis longtemps. So what the deal was in Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek was not a perfect ruler, but people want to say, oh, let's just have a new ruler here too, you know, peace and all that. And if you get rid of somebody who is a strategic partner like Chiang Kai-shek, you know, and the others, the Shah and so on, then you have a vacuum. And so this has been like a 40-something year vacuum in Iran. So these are issues where people don't understand, you know, okay, that may not be the best person choice or whatever, but you have to do that for the long game.
There's a lot of, I mean, that's why I've always said, and I say to people all the time, I give a lot of grace to what's going up there. I definitely give Trump a lot of grace in maneuvering. I mean, all the things that I do and know and see that he does. He is, I think, representing the people. We're not happy about it all the time, but I also do think, what's our alternative, right?
Well, see, that's like one of the biggest stories that nobody is covering. Happened last Wednesday.
What was it?
My court hearing? My court order that came out last Wednesday?
Last Wednesday.
Yes.
Last Wednesday, the Chinese company that had taken control of both ends of the Panama Canal was removed from their position and is now under investigation by the Panamanian government. That was actually to me, that was one of the first steps. This step-by-step thing that Trump has done that nobody, particularly in the media, wants to give him credit for. Iran is a sideshow.
Right.
Every lot of things are distractions. You're right.
Distraction from that, but not.
No, the reason Iran is a sideshow is it has nothing to do so much with the war in Iran, other than that he understood that needed to be resolved. What it's doing is it's attacking the two great Satans, Russia and China. China was currently getting 90% of the oil out of Iran. That's zero now. They were getting 70% of the oil out of Venezuela.
Yes.
That's zero now. If this had been a normal situation up until Trump that we've gone through in this last 10 days, you'd be paying $6 a gallon for gasoline.
So how much is it now?
It's under $3.
Still under $3.
And so that's what nobody seems to understand about Trump. It's the difference between having a politician and a business person who builds a plan.
I think there's a lot going on at that level that we have some personal frustrations with at times. I mean, I don't want to see a prolonged war in Iran. I don't want to see boots on the ground. you know, but I mean, but think about it in comparison to what goes on here locally. Think about all the backstories and the things that we don't really, that we actually can know the facts about and figure the facts out, and and people from another level don't understand.
There may have been a lot going on behind the scenes, and I don't know. I'm not privy to it. The only thing I want to say is that he promised us throughout 2024 peace, constant. He criticized Biden. He criticized everybody.
We are the most
I
peaceful.
believed every word.
Right.
We are the most peaceful place in the world in my 70-year
How
lifetime.
many people are dead? How many dead children? How many dead service people? Every single one is precious. But I don't know what's behind the scenes, and you're absolutely right.
Behind the scenes,
Yes.
from our sources, there are 3 servers that were found in Iran. One of them shows the banking system of the money laundering. Another one has a copy of the Epstein list, and I can't remember what the
Deeper
third one.
copy.
Deeper copy of the Epstein list. And this is money that was paid by our government. We were basically blackmailed by Iran to be quiet. So
Yeah.
that is what's happening behind the scenes.
Plus, it was the liberation of people. Plus, sources also have said they were very close to being able to launch, and so that's why these other things are important, but they're tertiary. So those are the reasons.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, and a lot of that stuff I haven't heard about the servers and the XT stuff and stuff like that. But I do think they were blackmailing us. I mean, what in the heck,
Look how much money Biden and Obama paid them.
You also have to ask, is the killing starting now that the media is covering it, or has stuff been going on all this time? I mean, I'm seeing pictures of women in Iran taking off their hijabs. That doesn't
Dancing on
tell
the street.
that doesn't tell me that all of a sudden people are dying because of what we're doing. That tells me people are not afraid of dying.
Well, when she's got a good point. Think about this, because I mean, the discussions where they killed like 20,000 people,
30 to 50.
30 to 50. I mean, whatever the numbers are. I mean, we freaked out in here in America because 2 people, very debatable, he's even debatable, not debatable on my side, got shot by ICE in Minnesota. They were killing mass numbers of people in Iran. I'm like, and he's kind of got a point. If they now feel comfortable taking your hijab or whatever off, maybe they're feeling safer. I mean, I saw a little video. There's some girl that rides a motorcycle, dancing. I don't know, northern Iran. She was shot and killed here recently. I mean, it's.
What they're doing is with some of the young people who were protesting is they took them aside, brought a pellet gun, IRGC, and shot out one pupil, and as a punishment for trying to go pro-Trump and pro-West. So Trump is not causing any wars; he is exposing what's going on.
Yes, he is.
Think about this, and I'll give it to Rhonda. Think about this. How many people have told you from out of state that they think Nikki Haley's great or Lindsey Graham is great, but that's not what we feel here locally because we know more about them? I don't know what in the world's going on up there. These types of things are there. We're not privy to a lot of that type of stuff, so I give a lot more grace. I don't like giving grace at the local level because we're not. I mean, I'm like, we can go figure it out.
So just one thing, and then I'll be quiet. I am pro-life. I am completely pro-life. So that's it.
Yeah.
I want to address the issue about Trump being a peace president. He had one big war to settle to have his peace. That was Russia, Ukraine. He put that onus out there to.
Don't move it. Hold it.
He put that onus out there to Russia that he wants the peace. He's given out the warning like does everybody else. But I think he started way back in Venezuela with that as the objective.
That might be the way to force Russia's hand. I assume it's Russia. I'm not sure who's at fault of that. It takes one party to start a war. It takes 2 parties to stop it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And he's going to have the control of the world oil prices.
Yeah.
Trump is. It's coming down. And also, they blew up the drone ship, the Iranian drone ship out in Indonesia or someplace like that.
Yeah.
Blew it out of the water. That was headed to Russia.
Maybe. I don't know where the thing was going, but I actually looked up the
They're supplying
torpedo.
the weapons for Russia.
I looked up the torpedo that they shot that thing. I'm kind of curious about the cost. It was a $4 billion torpedo. You know, I mean, we haven't blown up a ship by a submarine since 1945, and we blew them up with a $4 million torpedo. No, nobody's done. I think it's great. Yes.
To kind of bounce off of that point, in the last 5 years, there's been ongoing negotiations between the Russian Federation and the Chinese over a pipeline linking it through Siberia. Trump has told Putin that he wants peace by June in time for midterms. And since the strikes began in Iran, the Russians have conceded to give Ukraine security guarantees from the West in order to bring an end to this war. That has been one of the largest holdups in negotiations. However, it's been a goal by Washington, as stated in the National Security Strategy, National Defense Strategy, and just general logic as well, that we don't want Moscow to fall into Beijing's expanding sphere of influence. We want to contain what was rapidly becoming a countersphere to the United States-led Western order. If this goes through and this pipeline gets built, this will shift the balance of power back into balance, where Russia and the United States supply China with oil, preventing further aggressive action by the Chinese, preventing the Russians from being reliant on China. This could be one of the final pushes that finally brings an end to this 4-year war and finally makes that campaign promise come true.
I think Trump is doing things for the long term that he knows nobody else is going to have the cojones to do. You know, we may all like, you know,
He's making the
JD. He's making the hard decisions. He's doing what the other side does. They make 100-year plan. He's doing things for the long haul. I don't know. You may end up being right. Time will tell. You know, but what do we do? I mean, if we all turn on him, then all of a sudden, you know, what do we get? You know, we get more Thunes and all that type of stuff, or we get a Democrat elected. You know,
what we're all pointing out is he's playing chess.
Yep.
Against the enemy.
Yeah,
He's
I think
got a
so.
lot of enemies within our country.
Yeah.
And
He's
within
like-
the
he's out
White
winning
House,
them all.
he has enemies within his own
Sure.
administration.
He has a lot less now than he did before, but holy cow, there's still some there, and it's like
I agree.
Too many.
I am I've spent 28 years in the military. I am against.
hey, it was the Air Force. Come
Hey,
on.
don't even try that.
Y'all just played golf on those
No,
nice
no.
fancy golf courses.
Special operations Air Force is not like the rest of you.
All right. We'll give you a little.
But you have to, at some point in time, say you're either going to be a coward or you're going to have to stand up and fight for the right to be free.
Correct.
I just hope Trump is not bringing in AI surveillance and digital currency. Okay?
Yeah.
Her comment was she was hoping Trump is not bringing in AI surveillance and digital currency stuff.
It could be the Trojan horse to bring it in. I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm
there's
voting
your-
for Trump all the way.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I'm pro-life too, always, but we are strong because of our strength and because of the fact that we give up our sons to serve. My dad went in on D-Day. He was a scared kid of 20, but he came back. But my grandmother and the family, they were in prayer the whole time he was gone. So we as mothers have to give them up to serve the calling for freedom. Because without our warriors, without our young men that are going into the military and serving, we wouldn't have the freedom we have today.
Correct.
So I agree, life is precious. But as individuals, I believe that it's incumbent on each one of us to say, I'll serve whether I live or die. I'm going to serve. That's right.
The element.
That's right.
I think, you know, just my theory on a lot of that is that's our culture here in America. I'm like, you know, a lot of our ancestors came over here on rickety old boats, and, you know, that takes a special kind of determinist, special kind of crazy, you know, and And we are willing to make those sacrifices for the greater good and for the future. And a lot of countries aren't.
Ginger,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Pro-life doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. The life of victims needs to be taken into account.
Yes. True.
And governments have a responsibility to protect their citizens, and if that means some have to sacrifice to guarantee the freedoms of everybody else, then that is something leaders have to do. That's why they're leaders.
In the example I've given is Olga grew up near Auschwitz. I don't like school shootings. I don't like suicide by handgun. I don't like somebody shooting up a convenience store, doing things like that, or spousal, shooting their spouse, with a handgun. But you know what? If every person in Poland had a handgun in 1940 or 37, the Germans probably would not have gone into Poland.
Correct.
I mean, that's why they didn't go into Switzerland and that stuff, because everybody's got a gun.
In Switzerland, you have to.
Yeah, you have to have a gun.
I believe when the Germans tried to get the Swiss to capitulate before the invasion, they said, "They're number twice your size. What are you going to do?" The Swiss replied, "We'll just shoot two and go home."
Yeah.
That's right.
So if you want to look at the spiritual side of this, my dear wife and I, we've done a lot of lay counseling. Some of you know that for like 40 years, church leaders worldwide. And we did a lot of deliverance of witches in England. And just if you want to look at root causes, because everybody, goes, oh, what's the root cause of this or that? Okay, so it's good versus evil, right? Let's look. Take your time. Take your time. Let's look who the bad guys are attacking. Like the hexes, which curses, spells, all of that, and fetishes is being done against Trump by witches. So let's see. So all the bad people, the Satanists, are going after and against Trump with spells and incantations. They're never doing that against the people who are trying to do the other stuff. So that's a very interesting thing. Like, just take your time. Let's see. Who do all the witches always go against? Let's see. Oh, it's the good guys.
If you believe in the power of prayer, you got to believe the other side is doing it. If you believe in God and Jesus, you got to believe in Satan, right? And Satan's not just sitting back. This is a war between good and evil.
This is basic. This is absolutely
Very basic.
That's why Islam is not a religion. Islam is the cult of Satan.
Do you want to give us any update on anything else in North Carolina about what you maybe learned going through this stuff, or just generally?
Well,
I want to at least give you the floor or the opportunity if you want to.
I learned that our national party at the level here,
right,
is corrupt, and more so corrupt than I ever even imagined it was.
I think the comment before we went online was, what's the difference between the DNC and the RNC?
First letter.
The first letter.
I mean,
I get it. And it wasn't you that said that was the comment. But I mean, understand, there is another level up there that I think we do understand, and it needs to get fixed. And I don't know if everybody at those levels at the RNC or the DNC, I think there's some Democrats that want a better world. But there's some that are taking it so far out there into Crazyville and doing, it has to be happening on our side too. So there are infiltrators, there are all that kind of stuff.
Being somebody who, gosh, I've been playing this game too long. 40 years when I was still in South Carolina. But the biggest single effect that I've seen in all my years in politics was the Tea Party movement. And I truthfully believe we are at the same point we were in 2006 Except fortunately, we have Donald Trump in the White House instead of that scumbag George W. Bush. And I'm sorry, I was
You mean
speaking.
the guy with that little picture over there?
You know, I'm speaking kindly of him by only calling him that. But the whole, it's almost like we've gone through a cycle, and everybody got excited. The Tea Party happened. All of a sudden, we changed so many legislators. You know, you and I have talked about it, Jeff. In North Carolina, between the 2010 and 2012 election, we turned our whole state legislature from Democrat majority to Republican supermajority. And that happened because the Tea Party people went out, recruited candidates, worked in elections, knocked doors, did all the rest of them, and it changed. And now we have sort of gone back into this soft slumber for a decade plus now. And I don't know, maybe it's social media and everybody's more distracted looking at their phone than they are getting involved.
It's the 20-year cycle.
But we're at a point where if we don't wake up soon,
That's why tomorrow's building your precinct. I mean, it's not just a training class to talk. It's their homework assignment. It's work to do.
It's a 20-year cycle, though. If you look at it, like you said, the Tea Party in
2006.
06. When was it prior to that? Middle of the Reagan year, 86, when the country reverted more Republican. Before that, 60s.
You mean when Lyndon Johnson decided to destroy the future of the country through taking over the public education system?
That's right. There you go. That's 20
We're
years.
seeing the year cycle.
We're definitely seeing what they've done with the education system.
20 years,
Holy cow.
same thing.
It's incredible. Yes, sir.
Wakes people up.
It's very easy to be a compliant coward, and it sounds so much better to say, "Oh, I'm exercising wisdom," or I'm just sitting back to see what will happen. I've talked to tons of church leaders who do that, and I know you've heard me say it's like this before, but it's like, I'm exercising wisdom as Pastor Wunderbar, and I say, "Oh, good, I thought you were a coward." And so it's a lot easier to do that. There was a case of a Lutheran church in the 1940s in Germany. And the cattle cars would go by with the Jews behind this church. And they thought, there's a cross. Maybe the Christians, if we scream, they'll stand in front of the track and stop the train. And so when the train went by, at this Lutheran church, they would sing louder. And they'd play the music, the organ, everything louder. So la, 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 we can hear. So it's a lot easier to go with the flow. It's the upstream salmon that make it. The others go into the choppers and so on. And so that is what you have. You have a tremendous amount of moral cowardice, which people justify as, oh, it's wisdom. No, it's not. Only 3% were supporting the cause of the Revolutionary War. 97% didn't. And so that's why you have that last thing. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Hello.
Yes. And I'm a huge Bonhoeffer fan in that respect. I mean, it's just, that is evil. Silence in the face of evil is evil.
Waiting to be raptured, so they don't have to do anything.
Or you want to be
They're waiting to be rescued.
which is basically.
Right.
That's
it's
a
not
thing.
helping us.
God wants us to get active and do things. God does not want us to sit around and wait.
Thank you.
Say it again.
The kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yes.
Greater works will you do.
And you're coming up with some good ones.
Yeah.
Anything else on North Carolina? I will tell him, they did flip North Carolina real quick. They did it fast. They did it, I think, in two election cycles. What happened here in South Carolina, there were a bunch of Tea Party people, filed to run for office. That the establishment came back and said they didn't file properly. So they all got kicked out.
And what's happened?
And it killed the entire momentum, and that's why we're in Rhinoville right here now.
What's happened in South Carolina since then is every election cycle there'll be, I would say since that time, 5 to 7, 5 to 8 true what you would call Liberty Caucus people. But they go down and they get sucked right into that 100 and whatever 124 person club, and they find out that either I'm going to work with the club or I'm going to be exercised.
Right.
And I still watch South Carolina politics almost as close as I watch North Carolina. And one of the biggest things I tell my people in North Carolina, because we've been hearing, North Carolina's been hearing for 100 years that South Carolina is this great conservative beacon. And I will tell people right now, in either Carolina, living in North Carolina, I live in the more conservative Carolina.
Sadly, he's absolutely correct. Before we go to you, I want to make one comment about that, because even with the Liberty people we're electing, they're sitting here lying to us. And I will tell you the ultimate frustration I had this week, lots of them, but a piece of information is they passed this, I guess, the 10 Commandments in the House. The House passed something where they can put the 10 Commandments in every classroom, and then there was some a second piece to it having to do with clergy or something. I don't know. Literally, Adam Morgan. I hate to bust on this, but I'm like, why are you continuing to do this? Makes a post that Thomas Beach filed that bill, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, and so he's taking credit for the Freedom Caucus and Thomas Beach filing it. The bill that passed was not Thomas Beach's bill. Thomas Beach filed one, and a bunch of Freedom Caucus people were on it. The establishment filed one, and that's the one that got passed. Thomas Beach was not even a co-sponsor of the bill that passed. And I hear you say, oh, well, they just, Thomas Beach came up with the idea. He didn't come up with the idea. I mean, it's been going back to the late 90s, a resolution from 98. They've passed a whole bunch of little things from, going forward. And I'm like, why in the world would Adam Morgan make a post that Thomas Beach's bill was passed? It wasn't his bill. He wasn't a co-sponsor of it. But I'm like, how many people and got excited? No, they're fighting for us, and they got the 10 Commandments in there, yada, yada, yada. They didn't get the 10 Commandments in there. I'm sorry to say it, but the establishment piece did. I don't know what pushed them into finally doing, to whatever level. But they've been having people down there fight. Why don't you go thank the guy that put it up, in 1998? With the original resolution. Why don't you thank the people that have passed 3 or 4 bills since then? But you don't lie about it. We can't have people continuing to lie to our people. He is lying to our people because we believe in freedom and liberty, and he's lying to them.
The first bill filed in the South Carolina General Assembly to register by party and close the primaries was filed in 1983.
Wow.
And we're still here.
And what happens is you'll watch it, and I've watched this now for, like I said, 40-something years. About every 5 years, the argument changes. It goes from register by party to close the primary. And Jeff and I have had this discussion multiple times. If you don't register by party, you can't close the primary. I mean, it's.
I have the theory we can do both at the same time, but either way, we'll see. But maybe I don't. You had a question? I'm sorry. You sure? Okay. All right. Well, whenever we'll get back to you. I apologize for going on a tiny rant.
One major victory this week. We did have one major victory this week in Texas District 23. Brandon Herrera, who is a staunch Second Amendment activist, done a lot of work, particularly in Texas and that kind of Midwest region of the United States.
Power at home.
Yes, he beat Tony Gonzalez, now is the Republican nominee for the Texas 23 congressional district.
And who's out?
Tony Gonzalez.
That's the
he was
other
under
one.
investigation by House Oversight for an affair he had with the
that's
staffer. But this is a major win for the Second Amendment and veterans communities. A lot of work for both of those.
Yeah.
Thinking Crenshaw.
Crenshaw's also out of office. So
Tony Gonzalez, tell us about that. I mean,
From what I have gathered, he had an affair with one of his staffers who eventually committed suicide by self-immolation.
She poured gasoline on herself and set herself on fire.
Yes.
This is not just somebody to something. I mean, this is like, and this was the congressman, and I've seen some of the text messages. I mean, this is to me a big deal.
It is. I mean, the fact that Nancy Mace has been posting about it, whether that's just for political points or otherwise, I don't know. But the House Oversight Committee released an official investigation, and House leadership, including the Speaker, Mike Johnson, asked him to withdraw from the campaign. There's going to be a runoff between him and Herrera. Herrera leading by about 1,000 votes, about 1% of the electorate. But Gonzalez has, after admitting to the affair, after he spent months lying about it and saying that it was, I believe he said that it was slander, libel, what have you, he made it to it and then withdrew. It's a fortunate circumstance for the family of the staffer. There's other complications that I'm not sure that's the validity of one way or another. But regardless, we do now have another strong Second Amendment America First guy that will be hopefully here soon in Congress, who, per his own words, is too expensive to be bought.
I also had several people who are very upset with House leadership that they shoved him out of that primary, but they will not ask him to resign from the House.
Yes, he should, exactly.
He should
That
resign.
That is
Should
really.
resign immediately.
But no. We can't.
Well, we
afford to lose that vote.
can't lose a vote.
Doesn't matter.
It's so close.
yeah.
Okay.
I hear.
Gonzalez also supposedly voted against the bill, which would have released all the sexual misconduct files from the Oversight Committee alongside.
He should have been
hundreds of
conflicted.
Yeah,
Assume
a
he's,
little bit of a
I'm sure he's in the files.
Mine's pretty much all of them, Jeff. They're
My
all-
house member in North Carolina, Mr. Tim Moore, the former Speaker of the North Carolina House, was the only Republican in the U.S. House in the state of North Carolina that
Really?
voted for Mace's resolution.
We actually had 3 here in South Carolina. Obviously, Mace voted for it. Joe Wilson voted for it, and Ralph Norman voted for it. So the Democrat, Clyburn, and 3 of the Republicans did not. I will say there was Joe Wilson did vote, in favor of Nancy Mace's resolution. There was a post by Mark Lynch out there saying that Wilson voted the other way, and I haven't seen a retraction of it, but that was shared all over the place. But Joe Wilson did vote in favor of Nancy Mace's thing. So
I was very proud of my congressman.
it's, what? I mean, it's shocking. How many Congress people do y'all have up there?
We've got 10 Republicans, and he was the only Republican. And then, believe it or not, we had 1 Democrat who voted in support of it,
Yeah.
Don Davis, who is the one that's hoping to figure out a way to save his seat after the redistricting. So,
Okay. I mean, at least he voted the right way. How many? Y'all have 17? How many? 14. So they have 14 congressmen up there. We have 7. So I guess y'all are twice as big as we are. So
yeah, we're over 10 million people now.
yeah, and we're a little bit over 5 ourselves. So, but all right, what's next? Emerson, you will give an update on your stuff or what you're doing, or I'm giving you one task and then we'll go to our pro-life.
I can
Anything?
give a little update about what's going on. So one of the things I've been working on both before I begin running, but especially during it, is working on trying to get things organized on trying to bring more young people into the party. That was one of the big things that led me to run. Is one of the things I believe was the reason why I was elected. So the plan we're working with is Rich are going to look into doing a young Republican chapter for kind of the Greenville, Spartanburg area. But from speaking with some other people who are more involved in kind of the club scene, whether it be at Clemson or otherwise, there's already one that has been created, and I have some connections with their leadership. So right now, instead of trying to split hairs over membership with that, looking towards making a more united platform. From my own observation, the observation of other people, whether they're involved at clubs on college campuses or county parties, we all kind of operate in little bubbles, and we're only really connected by a couple of personal relationships, which makes a lot of collaboration, especially on wider statewide projects, difficult. So I'm working with someone to make a platform to where we can start beginning to connect all these individual spheres in one place, specifically on a more young person friendly social media platform. That way we can get more people in. It's easier to get connected and find your niche. I like working in the policy field specifically, so I may try to get a policy tweet set up there. It's something I ran a little bit on with the Clemson College Republicans. So that's something I'm working on now, but still working on some logistic issues as far as getting membership set up and whether filings I need to do with that.
Fantastic. That's the task we put in on. We're not always successful getting the adults to work together, so maybe youth can, so maybe they can show us up and then incentivize some adults to actually do something. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Earlier, the first time I came to the meeting here, they were talking about that. And I had come up with an idea of possibly doing classes for the seniors in high school and get together with schools and see if they'd be open to teach them about politics and voting. That might get an interest started in them.
Yeah.
Is that anything that would be?
I'm looking to that. So I graduated from UHC right down the road, and I still have some connections with some administrators there. I'm working on something like that. Figuring out what school board could be interesting.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of it, but yeah, one thing I'm trying to do is get people to engage academically with politics, not just in kind of the we like this person, but understanding the bills and the policies.
Understanding how politics works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yes. What else? Pro-life update? You're good?
Thank you. I'll keep it quick. This Monday is my third and final talk on socialism. It's about how to address them both in public and in private. Even though it's going to focus on socialism and probably pro-life emphasis, it's actually something you can use in almost any kind of discussion with anybody. April the 6th, we will be having a speaker, Wayne Cockfield, will be talking about organ harvesting. Right now, Carrie's working on.
God, some of his topics are like, oh my God, it's out there.
It's progressive. There's just no good way to kill people. So
Yeah, it started in the
Hey,
60s.
it's a raving business in communist China.
Yes, it is.
This is a dark business I'm in. There's just no good way to kill people. So to pretend otherwise is extremely delusional. And either that or you're a socialist. But see, Carrie's going to be talking about assisted suicide and euthanasia in May, and one of our members, Ray Calabro, his daughter is going to be giving a talk on theology of the body. And we plan in June. We plan to have that at Christ on Main.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
And this is a really good one. It's something that's missing in our culture. It's about glorifying you as an individual as opposed to simply selling yourself out as a sex toy. So and to me, that's the root of abortion. Abortion is the root of virtually everything else we're talking about here. So I do believe that our talk in June will be well worth attending.
They kill 1 million babies a year, right? Is it 1 million?
It was typically 1 million. I haven't caught the last couple of years, but yeah, ever since 75. It's typically between 800,000 to 1.5 million a year, with an average of about 1 million.
But then
She'll be at Christ on Main. Yeah, she'll be talking live at Christ on Main. She's earning a master's in theology.
I think it's PhD.
Oh, PhD already? Okay, my bad. Even better.
think about how they made it okay to kill all these babies, but then, oh, well, we need population growth, so we got to let all these people across the border. You know, I don't get it.
Well, all the infighting with family, you just, if it's okay to kill your child, then what's the purpose of having a nuclear family?
Yeah.
You're just another disposable. If it's okay to kill your child, why is it not okay to kill someone who's too old to contribute to society?
Or has $1 million worth of health bills over the last year because I got cancer. Yeah, might want to just get rid of me. At some point, I'm not economic.
That is the Canadian plan now.
That is yes, but I'm joking about, but I'm not, because ultimately that's where we'll get. You know, I mean, they may think I still have some useful life, but somebody in their 70s that's got, you know, that kind of stuff, they're like, they cut them out, or late 70s.
We have an update.
Yes, please.
I went through this.
Grab the mic. Use the mic.
This ex-New
Unless
Yorker-
it's not an important update.
This ex-New Yorker, you hear me? Took her first trip to the State House, and the longest mileage I've driven since I moved here, because I didn't have a car for 30 years in Manhattan.
Congratulations.
State House, support State Representative Lee Gilreath's Bill 4624, banning geoengineering of our skies, which is a very real issue. A lot of people don't even believe it. But if you constantly look at the sky, like I have looked from my big porch window for 4 years that I'm down here, they are dropping chemicals on us. They are lighting out the sky every afternoon.
Right.
We have no more blue skies in Greenville. They are dropping tons of aluminum on us. I have brochures here. I have cards. I encourage you to watch the movie called The Dimming. It's on a website. It's on all the social media pretty much. It was a little discouraging for me to see the good old boys sitting around the table, I have to say. And the first bill, what was presented, had nothing to do with us. It was about agritourism, trying to control farmers who use their barn houses for weddings and have occupancy, which I felt was deliberately stretched for too long so that our bill was squeezed into a much smaller area of time.
You are getting like 2 gold stars today. 'Cause, I mean, how did you figure that out in one meeting?
There were 2 guys sitting next to me with bow ties who I knew felt like they were handlers of the guy who was running the meeting to make sure this
Always.
agenda.
Bow tie is the sign,
pushed.
except for him. I know you did. He's going to the Rhino.
When I showed the guy with the bow tie, who looked like a Democrat, I don't know, right there, the picture of the horrendous, abnormal sky. I have a million pictures if anyone wants to see him. He goes, "Oh, that's so beautiful," which was a sarcastic remark. So I could see that Dave Livingston, who has been fighting this for decades, and he was live on the screen, I could see that he was disgusted by what really happened, because he showed up at 12, and our issue didn't get there till 1:15. And so anyway, I went. It was an experience for me. I'm glad I did it. This is my prime issue. I'm very concerned about what they're doing in our skies. So anyway, I encourage you to pick up one of these cards. It's on the front table. I have some here, and read this brochure that I have 2. And thank
So
you.
give us an update on the bill. Did it get out of committee? Did they vote on it?
Judiciary Committee right now.
Did they even debate it afterwards?
Nothing.
Nothing. So it just got there, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you picked up.
They stretched it long enough to
Yeah, to
say,
get out.
"Oh, we're out of time."
They literally, in one of our school choice things, House Ways and Means Committee, that's where our school choice bill went through, because it had to do with money, even though it's tax credit. They literally spent, I think, 45 minutes talking about coyote tags, and shooting coyotes and the coyote problem in South Carolina, and to run out the clock to not get to our school choice stuff.
Remember that time when they hid it in the property tax?
Oh, yes. And then they put school choice in a property tax subcommittee to kind of hide it there so we wouldn't find it there. And in the old days before COVID, we used to cruise a lot, and we went on a cruise. You only need 24 hours to schedule a hearing, right? So they would schedule a hearing while we were, obviously, out to sea. So couldn't do anything. So then we couldn't tell anybody when we were going out of town for a week. I'm like, we've learned the tricks of the trade, and I'm very impressed that you figured it out in one trip down there. Yes.
I'll second what this young lady said. This is my commercial pilot certificate. I haven't flown for a long time. They're good for life, so I'm not current. But there's, only a diligent moron would wonder if contrails and chemtrails are the same. She is correct. Barium, aluminum, strontium are the key ones that come through. And they pollute the skies and everything. And our groundwater, our ground, they kill off the bees. And so that's like mRNA 2.0. And so, but like you see a little thing, it's like a little white pencil along the sky and it disappears. That's a contrail. The chemtrails, such as 360s, you never have doing at altitude 360s ever. And they were doing that like
It was last week, yeah, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
So that's totally bizarre. So you really have to work hard to not understand this.
Obviously it's another deep issue. I don't know the details of it, but you got enough people that are concerned, just like we used to talk about it with election fraud and all that stuff. Election fraud has been going on forever. I mean, why would we think it's not happening now?
It gets better every day.
They get better at it every day. They've been trying to control things, environment, control everything else. Why would we not think they're trying to do it now? They're trying to, investigate these things. And the fact that, at that hearing yesterday for this lady, while she was advocating against the sewer expansion or whatnot, and I've seen her speak at the county council meeting, county lawyer and the county administrator sitting there laughing at her. She's a citizen. And she said, the county attorney was there yesterday. He was laughing at some of her stuff. Why, that's the type of subliminal type stuff. If the judge is sitting up there, he obviously knows who the county attorney is, and the county attorney's, laughing and mocking this lady as she's presenting her side of the case. That's part of the tactics that are out there.
Okay, I just want to say something else.
Yes.
2 people showed up to speak on behalf of the bill. One was Kelly Long, who's a councilwoman, and she talked about her farm and how much aluminum is now on her crops. And then another young married father with children from Charleston spoke. I wish he was a little clearer, but he talked about a lot of statistical facts about contrails versus chemtrails, which was very good. So those are the 2 people that spoke.
To me, it's not about the topic, it's the process. The process is we're not letting this come to a discussion and an investigation, if you will. I think a lot of things need to be, as opposed to dismissed of, you guys are just crazy. You believe they're putting stuff in the air. Who does that?
Well, it will expose the roots of the issue, and then it will expose the roots of why they're obfuscating doing what they're doing. Like in Mount. No.
Generally.
Do that for money or sex or power? Oh my goodness. And so Mount Shasta, California, 14,000 plus feet. People have studied the snowpack there. And, this is supposed to be like wonderland, like pure. And I think it's like 12,000 or something times the toxic amount of stuff.
There's something going on. Look into it deeper. Figure it out. Something is going on. Why do you ignore it? And I like watching a lot of old history shows and stuff like that. And you'll see stuff from the 40s or the 30s or 100 years ago, 200 years ago that they're talking about things that the government was doing and not telling the citizens. And it's like you would have been crazy if you're not.
Like the sterilization clinic.
Oh my God. There's people alive today that were literally sterilized. I was reading about somebody in North Carolina. They did it in North Carolina. And some of those people that were sterilized are still alive today because they were sterilized in the 60s, 70s.
There actually has been the largest single settlement in the history of this whole, I don't know if you call it sterilization or alteration, but the largest single one in the history of the country was done in North Carolina 6 years ago.
And when were they doing it?
Oh, it had been.
It was in the.
Oh, it had been debated in the legislature since the 50s or 60s.
Right.
About the reparations.
Early 20th century.
But they did it. I think still like in the 60s and 70s. Right? They did it up until the. I was reading it and I was like, I was dumped. I'm like, this person is like my age or a little bit older. I'm like, they were sterilized by the government.
Well, that's what they're trying to do now with this whole transgender garbage.
Well, if they did it back then,
they're just using a different avenue.
Right. But that's kind of my point. Somebody thought it was okay to sterilize people then.
Well, that's like the one of the big discussions that I've been involved in the last couple of months. We've got to bring mental institutions back.
Yes.
Yep. It's a mental problem.
And that's been, and it's been.
Yes.
And I need a place to sleep.
Well, actually, there are a lot of those places that has to do with people not having a place to sleep because they are not.
They're living on the street because they got no place to go.
I gotta have someplace to send Olga. That's the mental institution. Or she's got to send me. I don't know.
Probably the latter.
Oh yes, please.
I'm going where the cats are. So.
Okay, this is what I was going to say earlier. I'm a Christian, and the Lord told us to go ye. He says, all power and authority has been given to me in the heaven and earth. Go ye and do. And God has given us the power and the authority. And it's a spiritual battle, you guys.
Yes, it
It's
is.
totally a spiritual battle. And we have to take the authority over it and fight in every area that you guys are talking in.
Right.
Because we are the battle, or the fighters for the battle. And he has given us power to do it, and we have to walk in that power. In Jesus' name. Amen.
2-letter word, do. We got to do.
We have to do.
Right.
Exactly.
One more thing. We are in a spiritual battle, y'all. Whether you're a believer or not, it is spiritual. There's a dark side and there's a light side. And scripture is clear that the enemy comes to steal and kill and destroy. So when you see destruction happening, you know that it's happening not from the light side.
Right.
It is happening from the dark side. And I rest my case.
And if I was judge, you just won your case. A directed verdict.
Always overcomes the darkness.
Yes, eventually, but I mean, we have to fight through it. And it's always a constant struggle. I mean, we can win all of our liberties tomorrow and we can have a perfect world. And guess what? It's going to start getting chipped away immediately. And we got to, ever diligent.
I had somebody got mad at me the other day when I mentioned that I believe that this situation in Iran right now is a holy war.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Going on for 47
we all know
years.
that.
no, it's
We
been
all
going.
know
no,
that.
it's
Been saying
going
that.
on for 1800
Well,
years.
yeah.
Muslims have been saying that
It's
for
finally being
ages.
brought to a head.
The Crusades were justified.
I just want to say a holy war to me right now are the people that want the Epstein files to be exposed and those that are hiding it. That is where Satan is hiding it.
Oh, yes.
400,000 missing children.
Yes.
I agree with you. I think it all needs to be exposed.
Stain and a sin on our country, or internationally actually, that we must deal with bigger than what's going on right now in Iran, in the Middle East. That is it. That's
Everything
the
has to
central
come
thing.
out into the light.
And this
We are
is
not
a-
going to get better until everything comes out.
And it will.
Amen.
Everything will be exposed.
All right, 105.
105.
Okay.
Who else got anything? Do we have a legislative update or are you taking a week off? Ay, ay, ay. It's tough to get good help. It's tough to hire good volunteer help. We'll give you an excused absent. I will say that we did go to. Oh, that's right. I missed it. My fault. It was funny at the county council meeting we went to on Tuesday. They did add to the agenda a county administrator's report, and his report was about this. I guess about 500 cats and neuters cats being spayed and neutered or whatnot. I guess, and I'm like, is that the most important thing? It's an important issue. I'm not degrading it, but I'm like, for the county administrator, is that the most important thing you had going on in the past 2-week period or something like that? I appreciate that, but I'm like, we got a lot of problems, and it's not just, your report to county council is just that was his report. That was it. And I'm like, I just, maybe we can ask Kurt about that next week, but 10 o'clock on Wednesday, Kurt will be here, Kurt McGahee. And we got this building, your precinct. I guess since I said there'll be homework, nobody will show. AM, 10 a.m. We'll catch you up. But this is going to be a continuation of what we're doing. All right.
since Greg Peck's not here, do we have a motion? Motion to adjourn. Non-debatable, blah, 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 blah. We're out. Thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Starting on time.